Hello and welcome. This is Randy with Excel for Freelancers, and today's training we're going to be showing you three different Excel pop-up calendars. We have two different pop-ups. One is a form base and this one is a shape base. And we also have an in-cell calendar that we're going to show you. And I'm looking forward to getting started. Thank you. Alrighty, let's get started. Today I'm going to show you three great calendars, two of which are going to be pop-up calendars. One is going to be a form pop-up calendar, and the other is going to be a shape-based pop-up calendar. And the third is going to be an in-cell calendar that you can use that's not pop-up. All three are great, and each one has its own pros and cons in which we're going to go over. So let's go ahead and start out with the form pop-up calendar. That is the first one here on the left. This is a form based that's based on an Excel form that's used through the VBA. This one I did not create myself. This is a very popular one that can be downloaded, and of course I am going to give you a copy as well so that you can have that for you. This is a pretty simple calendar. You just select the month, select the year, and it's pretty standard, and it's stable, so I like that. Some of the pros are that it's very easy to set up. It doesn't break easy. It's secure, so I like that. And there's really no coding that's required. Very slightly, and let's go ahead and the VBA model, and I'm going to show you how that's done. And to open VBA, we'll go over to the file and options to make sure you have the developer tab, and in the customize ribbon you want to make sure that the developer tab is selected there. Alright, so we'll go ahead and go to the developers tab. Visual Basic or Alt F11 will work as well. And so once inside the VBA, you can see our form. We have a calendar form here, and we'll double click on that. And that is the form that we're using in our first pop-up calendar. That is a form-based calendar. And if you double click on somewhere inside, you can also see all the code that comes along with it. We're not going to go over that code in detail, but it's basically what makes that calendar run, and I'll make sure that your copy has everything you need so you don't have to worry about that. The code that we're going to concern ourselves with is on sheet 1, and that's how to activate this particular calendar. And there's a lot of code on this, not a lot, but there's a good amount of code on this, but for this particular form pop-up, we're only going to be concerned with this particular code right here. And that's on selection change, right? Selection change, okay? That means that anytime we select this cell E7, we want to show that calendar form. And basically all that is the form name, calendar form, and then dot show, okay? So that means every time E7 is selected, that calendar is going to be showing, and then the code inside the calendar itself will hide it once you select something. So basically once we click on it, that form shows, and you see that's E7. So that's basically how this works, and you can select the months, the years on this, and it's pretty basic, it's pretty solid. And you can, the pros of this are it's very easy to set up, and to set that up, you know, to move it inside, if you have a new workbook, right, and you have no calendar form, you can save it in another workbook and then open both workbooks and then drag it over into the new workbook. You can also, right, take this calendar form, right, and you can export it, okay, export it into a folder of yours, right. Once it's exported into somewhere, you know, that you know where it is, you can then import it, right. So if I go to import, right, and I go over to where my files are, and I look in my files, I'll be able to find that located in where I keep my code library, and you'll see it here under. So I've got that saved, all my macros saved in a specific folder there, so that I can just pull them out of forms. And so you can save that there as well. And once you pull it in, all you need to do is add this code to whatever sheet, right? We'll select whatever sheet. Go into selection change, right, and then add this, and that's pretty simple. So I like that I like in this particular calendar, it's very easy to set up, very easy to run. The downsides of it are a few. It's got a kind of an older look and feel. You can't really change the colors too much. You can a little bit through properties, but it doesn't look great. We don't have a lot of options when it comes to colors or fades or borders or things like that. It's somewhat limited. So we're kind of stuck with this gray color here, and or some of the other color options are not that great. And if we were going to change it, it would be somewhat, cumbersome because it does take a while. And also another thing, to position this particular pop-up, we do have to go into the properties. So back into the VBA, clicking on calendar form, and then we're going to click properties up here. Okay, properties here. There's two items that change the location of this under properties. One is left, okay, left, and you can see left, we've set it at 60. If we increase this number, it's going to move to the right more. So if we increase this to let's say 260, right, and then we go ahead and click it, it's going to end up somewhere over to the right. And basically the same idea is if we also have top. Okay, if we go down here under scroll down and we look at top, it's the same thing. The more this number increases, the lower it's going to be. All right, we'll go ahead and change this back to 60. And so that's how you position it. So one of the downsides is that let's say you want a calendar here and you want another pop-up here and another pop-up here. I would probably just use 3 calendars, or you can use some of the coding positioning properties by cells. There's a few ways to position it, but nothing too simple on the positioning. So that's one of the cons of it. So there's a few pros and cons with this one. So that's it for the pop-up calendar on the form-based. Next up, we have the shape-based pop-up calendar here. Okay, and on this shape-based pop-up calendar, this one I did create myself, whereas the form-based I did not create that. This one I did create it, and this one I like it because it has the ability to change the colors simply by clicking the properties. So that's a very nice feature. There's multiple themes and colors that you can choose from to match your workbook. Another thing I like about this is it's always going to appear, we don't have to set the position of it, it always appear below the cell selected perfectly. So I do like that feature. And we also have the ability to move to the month, go through the months. So that's kind of a nice feature. And we can always, and the selected day, we always have that. The selected day will appear in orange, so we always know what day is there. So that's another feature. Some of the cons of this, there is a little bit more of a complexity when it comes to implementing this, a little bit. And that involves a little bit more VBA when you're moving it over. But for this particular one, I do have another workbook with just this shape pop-up, and this workbook contains instructions, and I'll show that to you in a little bit. It can change instructions as well as a YouTube video that will go through how to implement it. And basically what we're doing is we're just going to copy over a sheet, and we're going to copy over this shape. And it's not that difficult, but it's a little bit more complicated when we're copying over the code. And let's go ahead and take a look at that code back into the VBA under sheet 1. And that code is here, and basically it's right here, and all we will have to do is copy this code over from the workbook that I'm going to give you over to your workbook in whatever sheet you want. And the big difference here is there's just really one change, and that's this, if not intersect I7. Okay, all we need to do is change this cell to whatever cell you want that calendar. And if you have more than one, you could, let's say it was I7 and J7, you could do multiples too. And the good thing about this one is if you had multiple cells, that calendar is going to appear regardless of where. So let's keep it at that. Let's see what that looks like, even though it's not really. So we have J7 is going to appear, and even if so you see how we've included other ones, it's going to always appear right below the cell, which is nice. And whereas the form-based, we don't have that ability. All right, so you can see how, let's go ahead and take those two out. I just wanted to show you that, how you can easily and quickly add it to add more cells, and the calendar location will automatically appear below. And I like that about shape-based. It's very easy to position. So that's one of the things that Uh, One of the issues that could be possibility is this is a shape base. So if the sheet is not protected, it could be deleted. But I have written some code on this, so where if it does get deleted, it gets automatic. I'm going to go ahead and press the delete key. Okay, it's not there now. It's gone. It's not. It's off the sheet completely. However, if you click anywhere else, you see that flash? That flash, basically now it's there. Okay, it's back. And what I've done is I've written some code and I've included a hidden sheet. Generally this calendar pop-up sheet will be hidden automatically. Okay, this sheet gets automatically created, and there's a backup calendar here. So if on the hidden sheet, I'm sorry, if on your sheet this shape gets deleted, right, or for any reason, it's going to automatically copy over that. So that's kind of a nice feature. With shape-based, we have to add in more security because if the sheet's not protected, it could be deleted. So I've done that. Another downside of it, if you're using this yourself in your experience, it's no problem. But the shape-based does tend to could get a little bit out of whack like that. You know, if your sheet is not protected, I do recommend protecting it. So that will help that. So. And the protection is something you'll have to add because part of this is grouping and ungrouping. So protection would need to be in the code, and it's not very difficult, but I can go over that with you now. But basically, the idea is that we want to under the modules. Okay, if you go into the pop-up calendar, I've added some notes here. And you can see this is all the code, and all you have to do is copy this module over to your workbook. So it's very simple just to copy over. You don't have to worry about changing anything in this code. So it's, in that sense, it's very, very easy. So also I've put some notes in here of what's going on, whether it's hiding it. So you can look at it if you're interested in how this particular calendar works. And so that might be helpful for you as well. All right, so that is the date-based pop-up on shapes. So I hope you like that one. And lastly, we have a really cool called in-cell calendar, and I developed this one if you have the space in your sheet, and this is based on cells, so this doesn't move. This is a great way because you can really have a lot of flexibility. You can go previous month, next month. You can select a month, right? You can select a year. You can click on today's date. So it's got some really cool features, and it's very easy to use. And that's assuming that you have space in your workbook, right? If you have the space to put this in, it's great. And I've used this on a couple of my workbooks for scheduling where I do have the space. So the pros of this would be it's simple to use. It's got a today button, previous and next, so it's very easy to use. We also have a lot of ability because it's cell based. We can customize the look and feel of it any which way you like, which is really nice, and it's very easy to look. And also, if you protect it, the formulas won't be deleted, so that's kind of nice. When you do protect it, if you do that, make sure when you protect it, right, you want to make sure you can select the lock cells, because if these are protected and you cannot select the lock cells, it won't work. So you want to make sure to select to be able to select lock cells. So that's really important if the sheet's protected. And that way, there's actually 3 or 4 different ways of protecting this. One is I had an instance where I wanted to lock all the protected cells. So let's say I had in this sheet, I don't want people to click on there. I don't, so that means this would be protected, and I don't want them to click, which means I had to lock this. But I can't do it for this because it's all based on the sheet. So basically what I did is like an undo feature using VBA, and I'll go over that in another lesson. But the idea is that there's many ways to protect this, so you don't have to worry. You can ask me if there's other ways you'd like to protect it. Some of the other pros are you have the ability to also, in this particular, I'm going to move this over so you can see it. In this instance, I've blocked out Sunday and Saturday as if they were work days, but if you want to activate them, or you can, like if you're not working on Monday and Thursday, you could easily block that out. So that's kind of a nice little feature to gray out any non-work days or days that you don't want to be viewable. This calendar is actually quite simple. We can go ahead and look at the conditional formatting. It's based a lot on conditional formatting, and let's choose one of these. and then we'll go into conditional formatting, and I'll explain a few of the rules that we have. And the first one is Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday is false, and basically what I've done is I've assigned this Wednesday column here, right here, this Wednesday where the check mark is. If that is checked, it's true. If it's unchecked, then that whole column will grayed out. So basically that's the way that we hide and unhide work days if they're working, make them gray. Month, this formula month, basically, let's go ahead and look at that so we can look at that formula. The month of 014 is B9, and I'll explain that to you. And basically what I have done in this case is I've added conditional formats to the last two rows. Basically what I want is if this month here, September, is not the same as the month here, right, I want to gray it out. So basically I want to gray out the next month, right? So one of the things that's important to you, you saw that I'll go back into conditional formatting so we can go back over that particular rule again. As you'll see in this applies to 014 through U15. Okay, that's the last two rows. Okay, and look, one of the important things is under the edit rule, look how 014 has no dollar signs. Okay, it's not fixed. Okay, that's because I want this same rule to apply for every cell in this range, because I don't want to write this particular conditional formatting 14 different times. So that means that this is going to apply. However, B9, and we'll go over what's in B9. B9 is the month number of September. Okay, B9, and I'll show you that, is the month number. So B9 is, in this case, it's 9. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll over, and this particular calendar does use these particular formulas. And remember, B9 here, okay, and that is match P8. P8 is September in our case. And what are we matching? We're matching the months. And where are the months? It's here. Months are here. Okay. So basically it says I want to match September. I'm going to use the match formula, and I want to find out what position September is. September's in the 9th position. Okay. So all that match does. And we have the same thing for year. We want to know what year, what position is year in. 2017 over here is in the 2nd position of the years. It's the 2nd one. And this is going to be helpful because when we use next and when we use previous, we have to know what month is next, right? Because if we get down to January, right, we want it to go back up to December, but more importantly, we want it to go to the previous year. So when we click January, the year goes to 2016 and December. And likewise, if we're in December, we want the year to go to 2017. And I'll show you the code that works with that so you can see how that works. Okay, and we're going to go back into in-cell calendar. That's the module. And there's really basically three macros, just 3 macros. One is for today. Okay, that's the today button here. Okay, the second one is previous month. All right, and next month. So all we've done here is we're in this, let's say next month, we're saying if B9, remember B9 is the month number, if it's 12, that means we're already in December. So that means we need to say, okay, hey, P8, the next month is January, right? And we want to make sure that we add one more year. So T7 is our year field. T7, let me go ahead and move that over. T7 is our year field. So we want to add 1. That's all it's doing. Okay, we're just adding 1 to that. So it's relatively simple. And we're saying, okay, if it's not 12, if that month is not 12, else. In that case, simply just add 1 more month. This says P8, the month, is equal to A plus 12 B9 value. And that's a little bit confusing, but all it's doing is saying, okay, if it's February, what's the next one? What is the next one? So that means if it's 2, we're just A plus 12 plus, so we're just finding the next one, and we're doing that through a little bit of math, column A. So that's all it is. We're just locating the next month with that code. So I think that helpful. And basically the last one is today. And with today, is all we want to do is we want to set M7, okay, is the set cell to the current date, okay, and we have M7 is our date, okay, and what is the current date? B4, okay, we've set that as today, so B4 is our current date. So in that case, we've just set it up there. And we also want to make sure we've set it to the current year, okay? So we've set, again, B5 is the current year, and B5 is all it is the year of today, okay? And then the same thing for day. Day is the day of today. So that ensures that we can put in the exact right current date. That helps us put in whatever today's date is. So that's all that code does, okay? All right, so that is it for the in-cell calendar, and that's how that works. So I think there's some pretty good, there's a little bit of VBA and a little bit of code that requires, but I'm going to go ahead and give you this sheet so you have nothing to worry about on that. I hope that helps you. That is how all three different pop-up calendars work. In fact, I use all three in different workbooks, in different situations. I actually use all three. So you may well want to use all three depending upon the type of workbook you're creating and depending upon the instance. So I hope that finds you very helpful. And I will go ahead and show you the independent shape-based calendar now on the workbook. I'm going to include two workbooks. I'm going to include this one, and I'm going to include one workbook with just the shape-based calendar so that you can easily transfer that over. So I'll go ahead and get to that right now. Okay, I'm going to include this workbook with you. You may already have it. If not, this is the pop-up date picker. This is the shape-based pop-up that you just saw, and as you can see, it's the same shape. However, this particular workbook includes a full set of instructions on how to take this calendar and incorporate it in your own workbook. I've also made a YouTube video. You just click on this link and I'll walk you through on a YouTube video. That's why we didn't go into too much detail on how to copy this particular date picker over to yours, because I've done that already in a YouTube video. So I've given you that, and I'm going to include this as well in the package so that you have both of the workbooks with you. So that's going to be really helpful, and I hope that you enjoy it. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I'm really happy to be able to give you this training and teaching. All I ask you to do is that if you can share this video in your favorite Excel group or your favorite Facebook group, and if you can share it on your wall, I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and select the Send Me All Notifications options so that you can get our videos to you right away as soon as we create them.